And a very good morning to you, Grenada, and the rest of the world. It's another Monday morning here on the Spice Isle. Broad smile on my face. Why? Well, because he's just so thankful to be alive, very happy to be alive. Breathing, aren't I? Had brekkie this morning. Yeah. And looking forward to a great day, whatever comes my way. Certainly hope that you share those sentiments. Pilgrims, welcome to today's edition of Gudday Grenada. Yes, like I said, 24th day, and just came off the balcony, as always, before getting started here. And it's another beautiful morning here in the Spice Isle. Yes, there are clouds out there, but nothing ominous, nothing ominous. So, what can I tell you? Let's get into the rundown, see what's cooking here this morning. We're going to begin with a segment which, I've been trying to get this thing on for the last week or so. But as you might recall, we had a lot going on last week, as we normally do. And as a result, I just wasn't able to. However, this morning, we're going to take a look at a piece out of New York. Brooklyn Street, renamed in honor of the late Grenadian Ambassador, Dr. Lemuel Stanislaus. Yes, sirree. That was a pretty big deal, and one of our very good friends, Anthony DeRiggs, paid tribute to Dr. Stanislaus during that ceremony, short ceremony, and I want to run that by you this morning. Again, anything that comes from Anthony is food for reflection. So we're going to run that by you this morning. Actually, that's one of two pieces we have coming from Anthony this morning. The next segment we're going to do is the reaction to the designation of Windrush Day, June 22nd. That was 2 days ago. Well, remember all the brouhaha about Windrush a few months ago? Well, Theresa May has declared June 22nd Windrush Day. And a very short piece I have here for you this morning. Very short. It's less than 2 minutes long, but in it you'll hear the British Prime Minister making her declaration, and you'll also hear the reaction of a number of descendants from the Windrush generation. So that's coming your way in just a wee bit. Then, of course, we get into Friday's edition of the National Report, and then we still have a couple more pieces after that. Black Wizard celebrating his 50th anniversary in the calypso business. Now, when you talk about celebrations, you usually talk about something which occurs for a day or a week. Man, this thing's going to go until about the end of the year. They began the celebration a few weeks ago. And yesterday I had a visit from the Black Wizard, along with the person who's organizing these celebrations, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Barry. Yeah, Lenny Barry. Well, it was quite an interesting conversation. And for those of you who were with us for yesterday's edition of Gudday Grenada, you might recall that it sparked a lot of discussion on social media. So I'm not going to be able to bring you the whole thing this morning, but I will bring you a segment which I think is it's about 15 minutes or so in length, okay? And finally, for some time now, we've been receiving submissions. I first found out about these pieces by Anthony DeRiggs through Facebook, and they always moved me. The things he has to say. He's now retired, so he's got a lot of time on his hands. And he doesn't waste that time. He spends a lot of his time reflecting on his past. He's a poet and an author, and I recently received a piece which is captioned, "When We Reach the Stage." Yeah, that's one of the many pieces he's done that really, really moved me. So I thought, hey, this is worth sharing. So, Anthony, I hope you're with us this morning, and we're going to get that out to you folks towards the end of the program. All right? Okay, I see you guys are out there on Facebook. Hang in there for just a minute. Hang in there. Hang in there. We'll get to you. But first, I want to get to the first piece here. Prime Minister Mitchell, yes, sir, Prime Minister Mitchell has applauded the initiative to rename a section of Rutland Road in Brooklyn in honor of the late Dr. Lemuel Stanislaus, Grenada's former ambassador to the United Nations. According to Dr. Mitchell, and I quote here, "The naming of Dr. Lemuel Stanislaus Way is a fitting tribute to a man who represented the epitome of service to his community. Through his profession as a dentist and service as a UN diplomat, he has left an indelible legacy. He demonstrated great love for his country and was an advocate for small states at the United Nations. Dr. Stanislaus, who was born in Petit Martinique, served as Grenada's Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary Representative to the United Nations from 1985 to 1990, and again from 1998 to 2004. He has received wide acclaim for his exemplary service and was recognized under Grenada's national hero legislation back in 2016. Now, at the ceremony to rename the street in Dr. Stanislaus's honor, poet and author Anthony DeRiggs paid this tribute.
Many in the United States, Grenada, and elsewhere remember his immense contribution geared to advance humanity's cause. What can we say about this distinguished community activist and diplomat who served with such fervor and dedication in his role as Grenada's ambassador to the United Nations, whose comforting words calmed the fears of those who, from many nations, who sat on his dentist chair. A profession he mastered. He mastered a profession for which he gained admiration and accolades. He who cemented friendships with people from all walks of life, solid bonds that stood the test of time, and will linger with the street dedicated to him. What can we say about the man who brought together people from the various political spectrums to break bread and encourage them to discard bickering and work together for the common good? What can we say about the man who seized the initiative to create rivers of hope with his burning optimism, inspiration, and faith? He was not distracted by those bent on creating seas that divide. What can we say about a man whose humor was so refreshing, a notable characteristic of his personality? What can we say about a man who personified the revitalizing warmth of the tropical sun? Warmth that he did not keep to himself to be buried in isolation, but shared it to light the fires of kindness in the New York community and beyond. What can we say about a man whose modesty was evident, and despite his scholastic accomplishments, he paused to mingle with those who were not as fortunate to climb the academic ladder? Such humility indeed is a distinctive mark of greatness. What can we say is what many have already said. The words of commendation from the halls of the United States Congress, from Queen Elizabeth II, the praise that flowed from the lips of statesmen and women, indeed from President Obama himself. From leaders of various countries, some organizations he supported or helped to form over the years, from friends and family, touched by his love of humanity. What can we say? We say we love and respected Dr. Lemuel Stanislaus, and we are thankful that he held our hands and he walked with us. His name will live on when we walk on the street, a street deservedly dedicated to him. Thank you very much, and I just want to thank Mr. DeRiggs for the part he played in bringing about this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Always so eloquent. Anthony DeRiggs speaking at that ceremony to rename a street in Brooklyn after Grenada's former ambassador, one of Grenada's former ambassadors to the United Nations, Dr. Lemuel Stanislaus. A few years ago, many years ago, I met this gentleman. He was such a gentle soul. I really, really enjoyed meeting him. Now, before I get to the next piece, let me say good morning to the folks who have already shown up on Facebook. Good morning, Margaret. Margaret, hope you don't mind me sharing your business, right? A few weeks ago, Margaret and I like to experiment with, different culinary events, if you want to call them that. And a few weeks ago, Margaret told me about a stir fry that she had prepared with pasta. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to try that. She shares her recipes with me. And I finally got around to doing it yesterday. Stir fry. The stir fry included things like carrots and peppers and onions and so on and so forth. And I made enough for lunch yesterday after I got through with SWGG and figured I would have the rest for lunch today. The rest only got as far as dinner last night. Folks, that stuff was so darn good. I couldn't resist it. I ate that whole thing yesterday. Thanks, Mags. I anxiously await the next recipe. All right. Who else is there? Let's see here. Sharon is saying, good morning, Gigi and family. Yes, it is good to be alive. Ain't that the truth, Sharon? We're breathing. We're breathing. So let's not walk this journey through life just complaining and bitching about what we don't have. And instead, being thankful for what we do have. If you stop and think about it, a lot of the stuff we have is so darn precious, but we sometimes just tend to ignore that. Benedict Cador saying, marvelous Monday morning after a stormy weekend and more storms in the forecast. Hey, okay, I think that's in New York. Well, certainly hope that you guys survive that. It's the summer. Got to keep your eyes open for tornadoes too. When storms build in the U.S., these things go. Generally, a storm would go to about 40,000 feet up. Man, in the States, you guys have storms that go sometimes even over 60,000 feet up in the air, and that's where all the hail and stuff comes from. So, be on guard. Ashton Fletcher is saying good morning to George and all the beautiful people of Grenada from a never-ending rainy Louisville, Kentucky. Rain, 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 rain. It's only a matter of time before we really start getting our share. We had a bit of a scare. It was just a tropical wave, no big deal. But last week, I think it was, dumped a lot of stuff on us. Sharon says, please know that Uncle Lam, and she's referring to Lemuel Stanislaus, is from Pity Martinique. Yeah, I mentioned that. Yes, he is. What a gentleman. What a gentleman. Kipling is sending his blessings to everyone as well. And can someone tell under which government did he serve? Yeah, you had to bring that up, Kipling. Margaret responds to him by saying, Kipling, I believe he served under multiple governments, and I do think Margaret is right. Yes. Outstanding gentleman. Son of Petty Martinique. Margaret says, George, you're out of control. Yes, I am. But Margaret, you know something? When good things happen to me, I like to share them. I like people to know what good friends are all about. Yeah? I like to provide encouragement, and I like to share my friendships. Okay, so folks, now, June 22nd, where are we here? Let's see here, yeah. June 22nd has been designated, or I should say was designated, Windrush Day in the UK. And at the inaugural ceremony on Saturday, the UK Prime Minister, Theresa May, addressed descendants of the Windrush generation. Here's a quick look at their reactions.
The men and women of the Windrush generation deserve to be celebrated. And that's why earlier this week we announced that the 22nd of June will forever be marked as Windrush Day.
I think it's incredibly important that we all recognise the contribution of the Windrush generation. That's why I was particularly pleased when the Prime Minister announced a few days ago that every year we're going to be able to celebrate that contribution with a National Windrush Day.
This is such a significant moment, a historic moment. It's a moment when Caribbean people will finally feel as if they've been recognised and acknowledged and appreciated. I can't tell you, my heart is leaping with joy. I'm so happy.
No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me.
Extremely important for us to mark the coming over of our parents, our grandparents to this country. They need to be celebrated, and I'm so happy to hear that it's going to be an annual thing.
The government introducing this as an annual celebration is something to be celebrated in itself.
Well, I was the youngest member of the crew. I was 17 in 1948 when the Windrush landed. We didn't realise that it would be such an event as it is today.
All right, thank you very much. 10 Downing Street, folks. I guess that brought back some memories. Now, let's see here. What time is it? It's 8. Wee papa. Running a few minutes behind already. It's 18 minutes after 9 o'clock. Let's take our first little break here. And then we will come on back with Friday's edition of the National Report.
This summer, make your dreams a reality with a Co-op Bank Summer Sizzle Loan. Get up to $20,000 and qualify for a chance to win a staycation at Silver Sands. Go on a vacation. Enjoy the carnival season. Have your dream wedding or make home improvements. Make this summer sizzle with everything you want it to be. Visit your nearest retail banking unit for more details. Special terms and conditions apply. Welcome home.
Conveniently located in the Grenadian Shopping Centre, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Grenadians will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep.
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Grenada to develop national plan to mitigate against risk in its financial space. Details to this story and more in the National Report. Welcome back. With the news for Friday, June 21st, I am Sherry Noel. Grenada will seek to develop a national action plan to mitigate against the vulnerabilities discovered during its risk assessment process. This will be done following a final workshop next week, which will be hosted by the Financial Intelligence Unit and the AML-CFT Commission to ensure risks are minimized or eliminated altogether. Entities like insurance companies, real estate, and persons in the banking business must be registered as mandated by the proceeds of the Crime Act No. 7 of 2018. Registration of the entities allows the Anti-Money Laundering Commission to have a sense of the type of risk the entity can input, which will then give the Commission the opportunity to adequately deal with the relevant entities. The first of the 40 recommendations of the Financial Action Task Force speaks to the importance of the countries understanding their various levels of risk with regard to anti-money laundering and terrorist financing.
What Grenada has embarked on over the last 2 years is what we call a risk assessment that was actually conducted by the World Bank. So that process will conclude next week with a closing seminar where we would actually get an opportunity to discuss the various entities and the various risk levels, and also develop a national action plan with which to deal and to mitigate the vulnerabilities that were unearthed during the actual risk assessment process. So as a connection to that legislation will assist us to have what we call ongoing and consistent assessment of the various levels of risk that exists within the financial space, of course among the regulated entities and the entities that are conducting relevant business.
Head of the Financial Intelligence Unit, Superintendent Afawa Pear, says registration forms can be filled on the site or downloaded and done manually by the entities, after which a registration fee must be paid at the Treasury. There is a 30-day period for the Commission to vet information to ensure accuracy, following which entities will be issued a certificate showing they have registered with the AML Commission.
What is the value of such a certificate? It therefore means that while you go on to conduct additional businesses, for example, where you go to open an account at a bank or some other financial institution, it would say to that institution that, look, I am registered, I have an understanding of my level of risk, I have a relationship with the FIU and the Commission, I understand what it is to file a suspicious activity report, that I also have a written anti-money laundering policy, and so I'm actually ready for business. Now, the institution that you enter into that relationship with would feel much more comfortable and can now determine what level of risk you input to their own institution and determine how you go forward.
Close to 28 entities have already registered. Registration is done annually, at which time the fees must be paid. The largest fee of $500 applies to entities like credit unions, insurance companies, real estate companies, and brokers. The fee for non-profit organizations is $100. Grenada is said to benefit yet again from a United Nations implemented initiative, which will aid in combating abuse of all forms. The Spotlight Initiative is a global multi-year partnership between the European Union and the United Nations to eliminate all forms of violence against women and girls by 2030. The initiative will provide technical and financial support to the country in an effort to end violence of all forms against women and girls. Delroy Louisa has the details.
A team of representatives from different UN agencies, including the United Nations Development Programme UNDP, United Nations Entity for Gender Equality and the Empowerment of Women UN Women, the UN Population Fund, the United Nations Children's Fund UNICEF, the International Labour Organization the ILO, and the Pan American Health Organization PAHO was in Grenada on Wednesday to launch formal consultation on the Spotlight Initiative. The Spotlight Initiative is one which was formed to respond to all forms of violence against women and girls, with a particular focus on domestic and family violence, sexual and gender-based violence and harmful practices, femicide, human trafficking, and sexual and economic exploitation. The team met with representatives from various sectors including civil society, various government and non-governmental organizations, seeking their input on the initiative. UN Resident Coordinator for the Eastern Caribbean and Barbados and Mission Leader Didier Trebuchet speaks to the implementation of such an initiative in the Grenadian context.
We really aim to respond to the priorities and the gaps that the various persons would identify, both from government and civil society, and we really look at what would be the priorities in terms of strengthening the legislative and policy framework, which is already very strong. We've noted that Grenada has done a lot of progress in this area, so we are very pleased and we really want to capitalize on this. But we also look at strengthening institutions, looking at the prevention against violence, and looking at data, how we can strengthen data to improve evidence-based policy making, among many others.
Coordinator of the National Committee for the Prevention of Child Sexual Abuse, Jacqueline Loris Pascal, is quite optimistic that this initiative will find results.
What we need to be doing really is looking at how we can find solutions to this problem, this burgeoning problem, really, shall we say, of child sexual abuse. Now, as I said, it's not only going to do with child sexual abuse, but also abuse on adults, sexual abuse on adults, and of course, domestic violence, in particular, intimate partner violence. I like the way in which it is structured because we're going to be looking at not only a preventative modality, but we're also going to be looking at the structures, the legislation structures, how legislation is impacting on what we do. Grenada is, shall we say, up there in the region. I even surpassed a lot of the persons in the region in terms of the legislative reform. We have a gamut of them. How is that working for us? How can persons, what is the situation of access to justice? When we have access to justice, how is the criminal justice system working for us? So these are all the questions we're going to be asking and answering under that project.
One of the key players in the implementation of the initiative is the Ministry of Social Development, Housing and Community Empowerment, and Acting Director for Social Development, Mrs. Creasy Worm Charles, welcomes such a timely initiative.
I think this is very, very important for Grenada. It augurs well for us. It is in line with the government's objective, 2019 to 2021, in terms of working insistently against ending child sexual abuse and abuse on a whole against women and children. So this is very, very important for our country. It's a stepping stone really in terms of bringing justice, to children who have been victims of abuse. And not just only that too, but technical assistance for our key stakeholders, increasing their capacity to respond in a better way in terms of ending child sexual abuse and even intimate partner violence and domestic abuse in all forms.
Approximately 2.4 million euros will be expended in this initiative, which will be implemented over a 3-year period. For the National Report, I'm Delroy Louisa.
This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Every summer, the Spice Island of Grenada is transformed into the Caribbean's biggest party, Spice Man.
coming down to Grenada.
Come experience the warmth of our people, trending theme fats, the revelry, the pageantry, and why we are the Jab Nation. The Kids, Our Future shines on August 3rd in the Children's Carnival Frolic and the Junior Calypso Show. 7 beauties take center stage as the Queen of Carnival is crowned on majestic Thursday, August 8th. The prestigious Soca and Groovy Monarchs are crowned on Carnival Friday night, August 9th. Enjoy the pulsating rhythms of the Still Pan at the Junior and Senior Panorama on Carnival Saturday, August 10th, and Real Steel, August 17th. The March Gras crowns the Calypso Monarch on Carnival Sunday, August 11th. 2 days of frolicking in the Caribbean sun kicks off on Monday morning, August 12th, with the biggest juve in the world, followed by pageant and Monday night mass. The creativity and splendor of our mass parades on the road Carnival Tuesday, August 13th. Join us in the Jab Nation of Grenada, August 8th to 12th for Spice Mass 2019. Many events, one carnival.
Welcome back. Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honourable Keith Mitchell left the state today to attend the state's funeral for former Prime Minister of Jamaica, the late Edward Seaga. Dr. Mitchell will be among persons delivering tributes when Mrs. Seaga is laid to rest on Sunday, June 23, 2019. The Prime Minister will be joined by Dr. Francis Alexis, who in 1984 was the leader of the Grenada Democratic Movement, which merged with 2 other parties to form the new National Party. The late Mr. Seaga, who was Prime Minister at the time, is recognized for sharing valuable insight and guidance, which was useful in NMP's formation. In the absence of Dr. Mitchell, Honourable Emmeline Pear has been appointed acting Prime Minister. Honourable Pear will act in the position until Sunday night when Dr. Mitchell returns to the state. The community of River Sally comes alive on Saturday as management of the Hard Rock Sport Club stages a fundraiser 2020 cricket match between the Adrian Mitchell's All-Stars and the Prime Minister's 11. The proceeds of Saturday's fundraiser game go towards assisting former Sports Minister Adrian Mitchell with medical expenses. Mr. Adrian Spaceman Mitchell is happy that after years of contributing to sports in Grenada and his Hard Rock Club, he can now be a beneficiary.
I feel very appreciative of the fact that, the sports club, which I manage, is being involved in such a venture. And, we're looking forward. I think that it will be a very interesting event because the teams that we're playing will be 2 competitive teams. And we're looking forward to a very successful fundraising day.
Assistant manager of the Adrian Mitchell Sports Club, Ricky Williams, says Saturday's game will be free, exciting and competitive with several national players. There will also be entertainment and bouncing castle for the children. And with this story, we come to the end of the National Report for Friday, June 21st, 2019. I am Sharianne Noel on behalf of the entire news team, thanking you very much for viewing.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm simply amazed at something I saw in the newscast this morning, which, by the way, was Friday's edition of the National Report. First of all, I'm surprised to see how quiet you guys are regarding this edition of the National Report. But in the newscast, I noticed that, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong here, but if I'm not mistaken, for the second time in recent times, I see that Emmeline Peer has been appointed to act as Prime Minister in the absence of Dr. Mitchell, who was this past weekend attending the funeral of Prime Minister Edward Seaga in Jamaica. And it just dawned on me, I thought we've had acting Prime Minister Gregory Bowen recently, we've had acting Prime Minister Emmeline Peer. How come it's Emmeline Peer again? Would any of you be interested in seeing Peter David appointed as acting Prime Minister at some point? I don't know, just asking. Anyhow, good morning, Anthea. Good to see you. Day off, girl? Or are you working shift today? Nice to see you anyway. And Glenn Andrew, good to see you as well. Pilgrims, let's take a little break here and we'll come on back with the Black Wizard.
A natural disaster can change your life in minutes. Preparation is the best protection for your family and business. Prepare now. Create a disaster plan and make sure everyone knows what to do. Store water, non-perishable food, and medication. Remember basic emergency supplies such as batteries and flashlights. Trim overhanging trees. If trees near power lines are unsafe to trim, call GRENLEC at 237 for assistance or advice. Install surge protectors to safeguard your electrical devices against outages and intermittent surges. For more information, visit grenlec.com.
GRENLEC, energizing our Grenada.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company, tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive, motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary, public liability, professional indemnity, directors liability, and wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
My name is Kizzy Marisha. I've been a confectionery maker 16 years now. Well, as a child growing up, my grandmom always make fudge and always make any candies, cakes, as I remember. And I always have an interest in that, It's like when I'm in the kitchen, I'm very happy. If you're making coconut fudge, you just grate the coconut, you squeeze the milk, and then you strain it, and then you add your sugar, and then you put it to boil. And then after, when you reach a certain stage, you get thick, so you got to beat it. Then after, when you beat it, you pour it out, and then wait for a few minutes to get hard, and then you just slice it, you cut it, and then after you break it up, and then you package it. Yeah. Providing food fairs 16 years now. I remember when I just go dropping in the fudge, I was a bit younger too, and I met Miss Harris. So I went here and I said, I have a product here, some fudge. I was wondering if y'all would be interested to take some fudge or candies from me. I showed her, she said, you look very nice, So she said, I'll try it. So she told me to bring back some another day. So that's when I started, but Miss Harris took it from me, and then they would start, I had a good relationship with them. Of course, I felt special, at least somebody taking my thing local and, other people can see it, because if it's I just have it, not much people come, a lot of people comes in, they're foreigners. So it was kind of special, And especially when I go in there, all the workers, it's very nice to me. If I pass and they say, Kizzy, you bringing anything this week for the thing finish? They always look out for me. That's what I like. The atmosphere is nice in there. My name is Kizzy Marisha. I work with Food Fair to provide you with sweet treats.
All right. I asked a question a little while ago about whether or not, Peter David should be appointed as acting prime minister at some point in time. Well, there are three reactions so far to that question. First of all, I see here that Benedict Cador is saying, do you think he will step down before the election? I don't know. I really don't know, Benedict. What I do know is that promises have been made in the past, the end of his tenure, and that hasn't really happened. Margaret says, PD, Peter David, as acting PM? You matter what? She says, next thing when KCM come back, he find himself out of house and out of home, as the old people say. I am Margaret. And then she goes on to say here, she, meaning Emmeline Peer, is being prepared to become the first female prime minister when KCM steps down. I don't know. It's just that, there was such a brouhaha when Mr. David joined the new National Party. I expected to see him at this stage of the game have a much higher profile. And I think one way of creating that profile would be as acting prime minister. Penny Crowley says, speaking of the newscast, I was again disappointed to see on the commercial for Spice Mass the barely clad women. Nothing has changed despite the protest. Penny, that's something that has been so noticeable. There are two things. Whenever the government is doing a promo, be it for Grenada, pure Grenada, or a carnival or something like that, there are two things that are guaranteed to be in the promo. Jab, and the promiscuity that you're talking about here. Guaranteed. That's what our government values. One of Grenada's best-known calypsonians, Black Wizard, is celebrating his 50th anniversary in the business, a celebration which will last for almost the end of the year. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of a visit from him, along with his event organizer, Leary Barry. Wizard reminisced. Oh, by the way, speaking about Leary Barry, there's a note, I got a messenger here a little while ago. Let me see here if I can pull it up. A message says, hi, Mr. Grant. This was from Tessa. Tessa, join us every Sunday morning for Sundays with George Grant. She says, hi, Mr. Grant. My husband was on your show yesterday. Sorry I missed it. I will catch up. Couldn't believe you weren't here yesterday, especially with your husband on. By the way, he was very articulate, Tessa. Thank you. Anyhow, Wizard reminisced on that 50-year journey, and they both spoke with me about the evolution which has occurred in the art form over that period of time. I'm only going to run you about 15 minutes of that segment this morning. So you grew up in the Ladigue area. Mm-hmm. How did this thing all get started for you? We're celebrating 50 years. Mm-hmm. How did this get started?
Well, it's always difficult to answer that question because I myself can't say directly when, but I could tell you that from I was about 3 years old, I started to make what we call rhymes those days. Just make up a few lines and sing, not a whole song. So I would have been about 3 years old at the time. But I grew up in a house that had what we'd call a chantuel. Long time, you know about the string band long time.
Yeah.
So obviously, and the string band would have guys making up calypso, their own calypsos and singing, practicing before the carnival day itself. And then on carnival day, they come out in the full glory. So I grew up from an early age with that kind of thing because my uncle used to be one of the string band players. We used to call it pretty mass or sweet mass.
Right.
You make rhyme on what happened in the community during the year. So from When I hear this song, you like this one. Where is the nutmeg bonus? Somebody please tell us. Time that they tell us something to show how we like burning. What I want to know first, I want to know about the surplus. The surplus they had in 66, let's get the matter fixed. I mean, you might have known the history of that. You understand? So whatever happens nationally to a certain extent, but mainly from a community basis, they will sing about it. Beryl, take your thing and go. I don't want you in me place no more. Every day you're going about, saying that I'm bound to shut my mouth. Anything you do, you're right. I don't want no man come home and fight. You know, those kind of things like those, you know. So I grew up with that, really. So, and the good thing is that, unlike now, what Carnival those days used to be January, February, March. So, since Christmas is over, from time January steps in, then you have what you call practicing. Whether it's job, whether it's wild Indian, whether it's pretty mass. You practice for about a whole month or so.
Yeah.
So, you know, so I get consumed in this kind of thing because I love it. Naturally love it, and then you go into school. You go to school and you sing it to your friends, and so you talk about what happened last night. And you try to imitate some of the singers, you know. Long time they had a style, they put in the hand on the air to sing. So all that I would imitate when I go to school the next day. You know, so, but then it's after I come to realize there's a reason for that.
Okay.
It's just like I have this in my ear right now, and it's making it easier for me to sing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you get a different feel in your ears. You know, your ear is important for tone.
Yeah.
So they were doing that for tone. So then afterwards I realized why I used to laugh at them, but then I realized what's the reason for that. So that's where I started really. And then on a serious note, in those days we always have a youth club in Ladig. Even though you change, you might start and last 2 years and the next one for 4 months stuff. So we had a club called Shadows. We used to play football, cricket, do all sort of things. And we have meetings in the society hall. You know the importance of the society hall?
Yeah.
So that was like the community center in the So in 1969, we were dating this thing from, we decided that we're going to have a calypso tent in the society hall. A Sunday morning like now. That's when we used to have meetings.
Sunday morning.
Yeah, Sunday morning. We'd have meetings about 10 o'clock every Sunday morning. But you'd have gone to church because those days, church is 6 o'clock in the morning. Because most people would have been Anglican or Catholic in Ladig at the time. So you go to church 6 o'clock, you come back by 8 o'clock, have breakfast, and then you either go and play cricket in the road or something. So you have, you know. But we decided we have club meetings on Sunday morning, and we had decided we're going to have a calypso tent that year. So that's when I started to write in a serious way then, focused writing, if you want to call it that. So you decide you're going to write for occasion, because you have a tent, this is serious business now. So all the guys in the club, almost everybody in the club wrote a song, you know, but for some reason I stood out. And so the other members of the club, they realized what was going on, and there used to be some guys from St. George's, used to lie in the country. You know, when the guys, like if you go to GBS, you'll make friends in town. And then they would come up and spend a weekend and so in the country with you. So they were there too. And so some of the guys, I think one was a Sylvester guy, I remember him very well. Flash brother.
Yeah, okay.
I think George is the first name. Yeah. And he was the MC, because you know, this guy, you know, the humorous guys. Like the Flash, all the Flash guys are humorous. Yeah. So he was the MC, and he knew, and he thought that I was real good. So he knew melody. That used to run the calypso. The only calypso tent in Grenada at the time was run by Melody. So he decided that I should come to town. You're going to put me on the melody, and so on. He come to town and sing, and that's how we started on the national level in the calypso tent.
Okay. It's now 50 years. Now, over the years, you've seen a lot of changes in calypso. It's evolved.
Of course, yes.
Maybe in some ways for the better, maybe in some ways for the worse. I want you to give me your perspective of the evolution that you've seen taking place. From back in your day, the way you were just describing, to where we are. Let's talk about some of the changes that you have noticed.
On a local level or generally?
General.
All right, well, okay, first of all, in my time, focus was placed on the content, the lyrical content of the song. So calypso was basically predominantly an art form that you listen to, whether it's at home or whether it's in a show. And then, but also the musical aspect was important because you need road march and so. For carnival, you need carnival music. And even dance, they would play some calypsos in the dance, in dance and so. But I think the shift, that shifted, it's not as lyrically strong. Calypso nowadays is not as lyrically strong as it used to be in the past. I mean, the kind of depth and so you used to have long time, you don't have it now in calypso. I mean, and not just the depth, but the width. I mean, when I say the width,
yes.
I mean the variety of compositions and so you used to have like, well, I have to focus more on Trinidad, I mean, to answer that question, because they were in the forefront and they still, to a certain extent, are in the forefront. And we learn a lot from them. But so if for instance, you don't have a cipher now, right? I'm talking about style, right? And I'm just talking about person. Yeah, you don't have a cipher, you don't have a rush shot yet. What Kitchener has gone to, you know, Kitchener. You have a Kitchener. I could even go back before that and say we don't have that humor guy. I mean, what's the name again? I can't remember his name.
Zandoli.
Well, Zandoli is one, and then the one who sing about talking backward and what's his name and all that. You see, so that's kind of wit.
Yes.
That kind of depth, wit, and so we used to have long time. We don't have it in Caribs, you know, because
Spoiler.
That's the name I was going to look at. I remember Spoiler.
Spoiler.
So all these guys, and so we don't have that replacement for them. Funny to a certain extent. I mean, does a very fine job. But funny is funny. But still, but funny is funny. So in terms of the content, as I said, we have lost a lot in that respect because even nowadays, people tend to sing more political songs when it comes to Kaiso and general humor on other social issues and stuff, right? So
I was going to get to you on that because earlier on in the conversation you mentioned to me that back in your day, the heyday, you guys spoke a lot about what was happening in the community.
Other social issues.
Okay, right. And Elwin, look, maybe to some extent that is still happening today. But back in your day, it seemed to have been done from a different perspective. One, yes, you reported on what was happening, but you did it in a humorous way. There was a lot of satire.
Different.
Okay. Today, Elwin, kind of vicious, eh, boy?
No, it's true because, well, one, it could be because lack of skill, and two, lack of understanding of the history of the art form, and three, because the society has become so political that people, I mean, use that medium to, you know, they follow the politicians, they come out straight and, you know, they themselves don't have no wit, much wit. As compared to, let's say, Manley or Bonham or Eric Williams, and so they're different. Even the politicians, they don't have no wit. They come out straight and talk nonsense. So maybe the artists follow the politicians, probably.
But George, permit me to jump in here on this question. We also have a decline in the educational foundations on which the wit was talking about, that range of topics that one would have written on, and the way persons who would sing about it would have been influenced by literature. And literature has seen a decline at the school level. So when I talk to my daughter today about about the type of literature books they read and the extent to which they have to write on literature, it is not the way it used to be. Because in those days, we read a lot. There was a wide range of topics that we read on. So that when you want to make skill and guile in a calypso, it also came from when you read literature, the style of the poet, for example, would have helped you to create a type of diction and language and similes and metaphors. That's what Spoiler and those guys did. They didn't have to be teachers and academics. They listened to community conversation. They listened to the thing around the community, and they understood how people spoke. And Spoiler spoke about great philosophers, you know, in his calypsos. But they were able to, they talk about Shakespeare, and they were able to use some of the same vehicles to create imagery. The writers today do not, and that is because they are not as widely read, and that the students coming out of the school system do not have that breadth.
Larry, let me ask you something. You talk about them not being as widely read. That is something I debate, because let me tell you, today people are reading a lot. Social media, what do you think you're doing? Reading,
Yes.
reading.
Yes.
But it's the style, it's the content.
Indeed. The content does not have the range of use of literary devices that would have helped you to create calypsos, to create poems. Listen, George, in Trinidad and Tobago, there's a program that is funded by the First Citizens Bank called Poetry Slam, but it's the spoken word variant. That spoken word variant is prose. That's what we used to have back in the days of Jarvis and Miss out of Sotes, Miss Robbie. When they were in the Ministry of Culture, and we used to have ongoing arts festival, you had poetry as a major feature of it. Today, and there were students who did prose. You're just speaking on a topic, but you're using a lot of alliterations and similes and metaphors, and you're using sentence structures that have a combination of rhyme pattern, but there was not so much poetry as in a nice piece of prose on a particular topic. In Trinidad, they have revolutionized prose. Call it spoken word, but in that you find so much of the devices that we would have loved to see in Calypso. It's happening in spoken word. Yeah. I have been to a couple of the finals. I was at the finals this year in May at the Napa in Port of Spain. The place was filled. 90% of the 600 plus people inside there were youths, and they were wowed. If you just Google 2 Cents Movement in Trinidad and you take up some of the clips of spoken word from the last 5 years, George, all those pieces by Spoiler and Zandoli and so on, it is given fresh meaning in a lot more political currency. It's more contemporary, but the style is there. It's in spoken word. It's just that we don't have poetry as part of our approach. We not reading Nutmeg Princess by Ricardo Keynes. There's a Calypsonian a guy who did a series of soca jab music. His name is Sinner. He writes children's books using jab as his main hero character. When you read his books, which is doing well out there, and you could Google it and see how much it's selling on Amazon, these books are not in our schools. So that when we want to write, we have to write to suit the type of children and their outlook and their worldview and their worldviews in the classroom. And teachers, we don't have the kinds of teachers. I went to school in an era with Victor Ashby, who used language and spoke with a certain amount of adroitness, pronunciation, emphasis on syntax. That helps you as a student, because when we Wizard talk about mimicking them guys where they had on the airs. Wizard spoke about talking about the nutmeg and the issues of the community, but you heard the level of language and style Wizard was using, because the community had that kind of appreciation then. You do not find that kind of appreciation now. And that kind of appreciation is diminished when you look at using social media. You're cutting thanks to TKS. You're cutting words to know 2 and 3 letters of the word to convey meaning. If that is the young people's expression today, you would not get the kinds of guile and skill that you got in Calypsos of old. Because the writer and the singer now are both in an era where the level of style and the level of flair is not there. So don't expect it to be seen if it's not part of what we do now.
He's here. Yes, I'm here. Okay. Thank you very much, Wiz. Good luck with the celebration. And also Larry, very articulate gentleman. There's a note here on social media from Anthony DeRiggs. Anthony says, Wizard is truly a great calypsonian. I want to add, fearless too. He is not afraid to sing about issues in the society that so many other calypsonians would not touch. He is a social commentator of the highest order. That's the truth, my dear friend. And right now, let's take a quick little break. We'll come back with speaking about Anthony. Back with him in just a wee bit.
With free island-wide delivery, Hubbard's Building Supplies and Lumber Departments continue to provide the best quality lumber, steel, tiles, plumbing materials, electrical and general hardware supplies at competitive prices. We continually consult with builders, homeowners and contractors to improve product range and services. Enjoy discounts where applicable, including the use of credit and debit cards. At Hubbard's Building Supplies, Grandans and Lumber Department, Caranage, we offer quality service, affordable prices, giving you the convenient, reliable, free island-wide delivery. Call 440-2087 for all your home improvement and building solutions.
It's good to be early. Good to be early. Pay your GRENADAB bill on time.
Time now for another visit with Anthony DeRiggs. Today's piece is captioned, When We Reach the Stage. And as usual, you'll find this very thought-provoking.
This piece is entitled, When We Reach the Stage. When we reach the stage where we appreciate ourselves and we love and respect our fellow men and women, and we cast aside selfish ways, we will more likely become exemplary beacons in this sometimes gloomy world. When we arrive at the point where we cease to behave like crabs in a barrel, crabs that spend all their time pulling down each other, we will advance and peace will flow like the water at Annadale Waterfall in Grenada. When we realize that political hatred, power struggle, and bickering create a rift between us that is wider than 1,000 Granitang lakes, and we move to foster friendship among us and shun greed and envy, we will be more motivated to meet the challenges of life and the difficulties that we face every single day. When we give praise where praise is due, and not be like those who only praise that which they can surpass and spend their time trying to stifle success, we will be sitting on the plateau called justice. When we accept the fact that unity is strength, and we understand the old African adage, spiders united can tie up a lion, we will see the benefit of working in harmony with each other. When we realize that young people need good examples that will inspire them and help them to shake off the false baggage and cling strongly to their tested cultural heritage and to know their history, there will cease to be dry leaves knocked around by every wind that blows. When we give ear to and acknowledge Marcus Garvey's words, a people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. We will be more knowledgeable about who we are, where we came from, who we are as a people. When we realize that foreign does not necessarily spell better. And we use our minds to sift and to know what is morally uplifting and beneficial for us, and not taken by tempting but deceitful empty promises people would make. We would become deep philosophers and not empty drums spewing simplicity. We would not act like dumb driven cattle, as my headmaster used to say. When we cease to hold on to every destructive and immoral fashion that degrades and drags us down to the gutter, and we pray and hold tightly to that which inspires, we'll be spiritually stronger when we understand fully that we are only passing clouds. Yes, indeed, flowers that wither soon and die. And we are aware of the fact that sickness can hit us so hard that so-called friends will run away from us. And a stroke can disfigure that face that we love so much. We will be more inclined to put our faith and trust in the Almighty God, for therein lies our hope. We will understand the folly of putting our trust in material things, for that can disappear in the twinkling of an eye. And a hurricane can send rich and poor huddled together in shelters, seeking clothes, ice, food. When we understand that the ruin of a nation begins in the homes of its people, and we call upon our Creator for guidance every day, we will be better prepared to face tomorrow and its challenges. Pray. Anthony Wendell DeRiggs.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Just as I promised, thought-provoking. Looking forward to your next motivational piece. Pilgrims, just before we go, and I hope that Penny is still online with us, because I want to share a little video with you. This is only about 12 seconds long, so if you blink, you're going to miss it. Penny, Margaret, hope you guys are watching this. This is a video I shot on the weekend, sitting on my balcony. It's a time-lapse video. In actual fact, it took exactly 30 minutes to shoot this, but it has been condensed to only about 12 seconds. Watch this. Kid's getting creative, isn't he? All right, parting word now from the Holy Scriptures, from Jeremiah chapter 1, verses 4 to 10. The word of the Lord came to me, saying, Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Alas, sovereign Lord, I said, I do not know how to speak. I am too young. But the Lord said to me, Do not say, I am too young. You must go to everyone I send you to and say whatever I command you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you and will rescue you, declares the Lord. Then the Lord reached out his hand and touched my mouth and said to me, I have put my words in your mouth. See, today I appoint you over nations and kingdoms to uproot and tear down, to destroy and overthrow, to build and to plant. A reading from Jeremiah chapter 1, verses 4 to 10. Check it out yourselves. Let's see here. Sharon is commenting on Anthony's little piece a little while ago. She says, "Love your work, Anthony." That's true. And Margaret says, "Sure is nice." I think she's referring there to the little video that we showed a couple of minutes ago. Alrighty, pilgrims, let's see here. It's 10 minutes after the hour. Thank you so much for spending a part of your Monday morning. I do hope you have a wonderful week wherever you are, whatever you do. God bless you, and by His grace, we'll see you again tomorrow morning at 9.